Development Pharmaceuticals in association with Higher Secondary Principals Forum.
Namaskar and welcome to yet another class of political science in the Prudent Scholars program. Dear friends, over the last 3 sessions, you must have seen the unfolding of the international relations in this book, which you will be studying, or you are rather studying, learning, Contemporary World Politics. This is the textbook for class 12th. And in this book, there are in all total 9 topics. The first topic, the Cold War era, followed by the second topic, end of bipolarity. And just the other day, we had alternative centers of power is the topic which we will be starting today. And today we will be learning about a very important concept, that is power. Now, dear friends, you know very well that at the end of the Second World War, in 1945 to be precise, there were 2 power blocks. That is the communist power bloc led by the Soviet Union and the capitalist power bloc led by United States of America. Then, as things went by, there was the crescendo of this in the form of the Cuban Missile Crisis in 1961, wherein there was a chance that any minute the world war would erupt. But wiser counsel prevailed and we did not have a world war. Then we see the hostilities between the 2 superpowers continued till about the late 80s, wherein there was the Berlin Wall which came down, and it was followed by a very big epoch-making event in the international relations, and that was the disintegration of the Soviet Union. Okay? And when the disintegration of the Soviet Union took place and the bipolarity ended from this world, that was about 1990, 30 years back. Okay? And then when the disintegration of the Soviet Union took place, there was an urgent need that Soviet Union needed to be given the boost. I mean the erstwhile Soviet Union. Because from the erstwhile Soviet Union, okay, there would be 15 new countries born. Russia was at the top of the pack. And there were 15 other countries. Dear friends, you can do the asynchronous work at home after this session is over by looking at your atlas, the new atlas, post 91. Wherein you will see 15 new countries are born. Okay? Then what happened? They needed to be given some shock. Shock not in terms of the physical shock, but in terms of some economic support. And this economic support came from the international monetary agencies. You know very well, International Monetary Fund, the World Bank. And shock therapy was administered to set these economies back on track. Okay, then we had at the beginning of 1990, that was the third topic, we had a single power, namely the United States, dominating the world, hegemony. And when the US hegemony was at its peak, US tried to behave in a very dominating manner, okay, because the US had 3 approaches, 3 strong things which they had: the hard power, the structural power, the soft power. In terms of hard power, they had the military, they had the armaments. Jiski lathi, uski bhains. So who had this lathi? United States. So they had the power. They had the soft power. They had the internet with them. They had the fresh air with them. So they had this all, and they had also the soft power, as I just said, and they had the structural power, the economic power. You see, just now I made a mention of the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank. Now this International Monetary Fund, the World Bank are international economic financial agencies. They lend money, you see. They lend economic aid to the needy countries to set their economies on track or for other social welfare programs. Okay? So then in that topic we learned there were 4 operations launched by United States. First, the operation was to take out Saddam Hussein's Iraq from Kuwait. It was followed by so many other operations, like for example, dethroning Saddam Hussein from Iraq in 2003. And there was a major epoch-making event on 9/11. In America, they say the date first and a month later. So it is September 11, 2001, when there was an attack on the very fabric of the American Center of Economics, the Twin Towers. You know very well, North and South Tower. And there were these 4 planes hijacked, leading to the America going after these terrorists in the form of Al-Qaeda or in the form of Taliban. Okay, so then American shift of power took place from the Republicans to the Democrats. And we had Mr. Bill Clinton in the White House from 93 to 2001. And then we had Mr. George Bush, whose father was also the president earlier, 8 years back. So when Mr. Bill Clinton was the power center, all these episodes took place. And when Mr. Bush took over the power reins in 2001, they had this attack, following which they went on after Saddam Hussein, Iraq, because it was thought that Iraq had weapons of mass destruction, or popularly called WMDs. But actually, in fact, Iraq didn't have any weapons of mass destruction. Okay? So that is where we have come to at this minute. Today's class will be alternative centers of power. Now, when we say alternative centers, now, dear friends, you must have appeared for so many exams in your life, during your lifetime, and in certain exams, you might have had MCQ type questions, multiple choice questions. Okay? So, if this is not the correct answer, there is the alternate answer, there is the other answer. That is MCQ type question. Now, here, we know very well at this minute that who is the leader of the world community at this minute. At this minute means we are learning this during 1990 period. Who is the leader? America is the leader. But there are alternate centers of power in different parts of the world. Now, we will be taking 4 for this particular topic, 4 centers of power. First is European Union. Second is Association of Southeast Asian Nations, or popularly called as ASEAN, and the rise of the Chinese economy, and finally India-China relation. So this is what, dear friends, you have to learn from the knowledge point of view also, and from, more importantly, from the examination point of view. Okay, let us begin now with European Union. First, now actually the European Union was born in 1992. Very, very important date, actually. But we have to take into account, before the birth of the European Union, this continent of Europe, as we know it, after 1945, you see, in the Security Council of the United Nations, the permanent house, the permanent chamber, 2 of the 5 members, namely Britain and France, they were the members of the Security Council, and they were a part of the European Union. So, in 1948, precisely first, 1948, there was something called the Marshall Plan. You know, the Marshall Plan. And the Marshall Plan was a plan to set the war-ravaged economies, of the European countries back on track. So America brought out this Marshall Plan in 1948. The Marshall Plan, as it is called, Marshall Plan. Okay, so America and her allies, 1948. So the Marshall Plan, which was brought, as I've just mentioned, to set the economies of this country back on track. Following which, dear friends, the countries of the European continent, okay, different countries of European continent, they also had their economic problems. A number of other organizations came to set economy of Europe properly. And then what happened was, after that, they had this European Union in 1992. Okay, now, very important to note, Europe continent was also a part of NATO. You all know, we have learnt in the first topic that in the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, European countries are at the forefront. European countries are at the forefront. Okay, along with the United States of America, of course. Okay, so European Union in 1992, it was a military union also, and it was an economic union also, and they had, you will all, this is vitamin yum, dear friends. The currency of Europe is euro. Very, very important from the examination point of view. Euro. And this euro, why it is important? Because the whole of Europe is an integrated economic market. Not only economic market, also the whole of Europe, they have a parliament to make laws for the development of Europe, and that is called the European Parliament. So, European Parliament, okay, European currency, a single monetary union. Now, what will happen, you see, there will be certain countries which will not be very favorable, because in certain countries there was currencies earlier like the pound, the mark, the French franc, which were having weightage in the world economic currencies. But they all came on board with some differences in the British pound, of course. We are doing it from the earlier times, not from the present times. Okay, so when we have the European market and the European currency, the euro, what we have to remember is this currency, euro, is a very, very powerful currency in the world markets, along with the American dollar. Along with the American dollar, this currency is a very, very powerful. Now, dear friends, you will be wondering, how can Europe pose a threat to the hegemony of United States? Will be the question which will be puzzling in your mind as you are sitting in your drawing room or maybe anywhere else with your friend, maybe parent, and listening to this discourse. Okay? So, why or how? Always you have to ask the question why. Very, very important to ask the question why. Why do you think Europe could pose a threat to the hegemony of America or United States of America? See, because Europe as a continent is a big, powerful, integrated bloc competing for America. But America and Europe had common because the countries of Western Europe, as you will bear me out, were members of the military bloc. When year it was started, to refresh your memory, dear friends, in 1949. In 1949, for your memory, I am just refreshing your memory, this thing was started. So European Union, the Marshall Plan, 1948, 1992, the European Union was formed. But the hegemony of America has to be reduced, has to be countered. And the hegemony of America, if it has to be countered, then there have to be certain institutions or certain countries or certain groups of countries which can pose a threat to the hegemony of America, and European Union was one of them. Okay, we will move now to the second one, that is the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, or it is also called ASEAN. Okay, now this is closer home, ASEAN. This is in our region only, Asia. Dear friends, India, Goa amcho, Goa, Goy amche, India, Bharat, it is in South Asia. There is a topic coming up called Contemporary South Asia, wherein you will be learning about this, India and her neighbors and all. But this region which we will be doing now is Southeast Asia or ASEAN. Now, why it is important ASEAN? Because, see, our country's size, India's size, sheer size of our country, you see the size, its present size, it is the 7th largest in the world in terms of area, sheer size. Okay? But why I am referring to size, geographical size, that is, time and again, is to let you know and let the message be clear to you, dear friends, that these ASEAN countries, they are so small in size compared to the gigantic size of our country, India. But very, very important is the economy. See, economy is a vitamin yam. See, without vitamin yam, how your country will grow? How your economic institution will flourish? How people will have good standard of living? Okay. So, the acceleration of economic growth was the need of the hour. And so, ASEAN came about. Now, you will wonder as to when ASEAN came into existence. 1967. ASEAN came into existence. In 1967, ASEAN came. Now, ASEAN, as I just said, is Southeast Asia. Again, homework for you after this class. Look at the atlas. You are now 12th standard students, all of you, my friends, from the length and the breadth of the state of Goa. Okay? You may be in Konkani, you may be in Sangye, you may be in Penne, you may be in Vasco. But you are learning the NCERT syllabus implemented for Goa board. Isn't it? Yeah. So let us go back to South Asia now. So let us all, I am taking you all to South Asia. Okay? Are you ready? Okay. So ASEAN established in 67. But before that, we have to know that the founding countries of ASEAN, one of them, Indonesia, was also a part of the non-aligned movement. Right, you got it. And its leader, Mr. Sukarno, was there along with Pandit Nehru. Where? In the non-aligned movement at Belgrade in 1956. This is revision. You have to take it up as a story. You will like it. Okay? 1956, along with Pandit Nehru, Marshal Tito, President Nasser, okay, and Mr. Nkrumah from Ghana. They were the part of the club which started NAM. Now, NAM was a counter to the First World of America, led by America and her allies, and Second World of whom, dear friends? USSR, erstwhile USSR now. USSR and her allies. So the Third World was NAM. Now I have just taken you to drive home the message that Indonesia is also one of the founding members of ASEAN. Okay? And ASEAN is established as engine of economic growth. You know, no engine. Now what is driving us? Now we are driving by vehicles, automobiles. Without engine, how we will go? बैलगाडा असतो, बैलगाडो ना आता. बैलगाडो ना. असा बैलगाडे, पण कमी हा. पूण आतां वी हॅव गॉट द मेकनायज्ड ऑटोमोबायल. सो आमची जर इकॉनॉमीक ग्रोथ एक्सिलरेट जातली, आमची जर इकॉनॉमीक ग्रोथ जर खऱ्या अर्थान एक्सिलरेट जातली, हे रिजना पुरते उलयता आमी, सावथ ईस्ट एशिया, जाल्यार वी हॅव टू लूक एट दीस व्हेरी व्हेरी केअरफुली. यू सी द सायज ऑफ दीस कंट्रीज, the size of this country so small. I will just tell you the names who are the founding members. Indonesia, capital Jakarta. Malaysia, capital Kuala Lumpur. Very good. Third is Philippines, capital Malaysia. Fourth, Singapore, so small, Singapore city. And last but not the least, the founding member of ASEAN, Thailand. The declaration was signed there, city Bangkok. So once again, Indonesia, Malaysia, Philippines, Singapore and Thailand. These were the five which signed on the dotted line and called the Bangkok Declaration. And ASEAN came into existence. See, when a country is small, now you see, for example, Japan, the land of the rising sun. Japan is so powerful economically, but you see the size of Japan, so small size Japan. Okay, so ASEAN, I just told, why did ASEAN grow? ASEAN was not a military bloc. Please remember one thing, European Union, just now we have taken a stock of European Union. European Union was a military and economic bloc also. But ASEAN was not a military bloc. It was purely having agenda of developing these countries economically, financially. Okay? And तुमकां खबर आसता, जेन्ना मनशाची अर्थीक परिस्थिती म्हणटा ताका कोंकणीन, आर्थीक परिस्थिती, पयशे घरान येता. आतां तुमी शिकतले, तुमी शिरशेक लागतले, घरान पयसो येतलो काय ना, घर वाडटलें काय ना, घराबो श्रीमंत जातलो काय ना तुमचो, तुमचे कडेन गाडयो येतल्यो, मोटरसायकली येतल्यो, बरी बरी लायफस्टायल जातली, बरोबर काय ना. सो लायक दॅट दीस कंट्री ASEAN ती वयर सरपा जाय. यू हॅव टू ग्रो. सो जेन्ना कंट्री ग्रो जाता, यू हॅव टू ग्रो द कंट्री इकॉनॉमिकली, नॉट मिलिटरीली. They set up, I'll put it on board, economic zones, special economic zones. ते economic zones develop केले, आणि दुसरे also on those lines FTA, free trade areas. Free trade areas, so they could develop this ASEAN and accelerate the economic growth. Because all you must be seeing them, you must have certainly seen people of Indonesia, people of Thailand, how they look and all. Okay, you can do asynchronous activity also. And seen them, they are looking more or less the same race, the Mongoloid race. They have gone so far ahead. An organization which started in 1967, dear friends. Now it is more than 33 and 20, 53 years old. 53 years old, this organization. It has made so much of headway in the world. Okay, so much of headway it has made, ASEAN. Okay, on military lines, no. On economic lines. But 5 countries, I just told you, another 5 joined subsequently. Now, which were these 5 which we joined subsequently? Brunei Darussalam, then Vietnam, okay, then Lao PDR, okay, Myanmar, earlier called Burma, and Cambodia. Okay, so again I am repeating, one is Brunei Darussalam, second is Vietnam, third is Lao People's Democratic Republic, fourth is Myanmar, earlier it was called Burma, and last is Cambodia. Earlier it was called Kampuchea. So, you know Angkor Wat and all. You know Angkor Wat, the biggest temple in the world, 12th century. You see, you have to grow. Our political science students have to grow. And how you will grow? By looking at the world. See, ASEAN, they adopted and look out, outward looking approach. म्हणजे आम्ही कितें म्हणटा, तुमची घराची दारां जनेलां उगडी करा आणि लेट द एअर कम इन म्हणटा पळय, दारां बंद केल्यार काय वारो कसो येतलो भितर, गरम जातलें, घाम येतलो म्हाका आयलो तसो आतां. So when you open the window and of this and you will get air coming. So when economy तुमची ग्रो जातली, अर्थकारण वाडटलें, इकॉनॉमी सामकी म्हत्वाची आसता. मिलिटरी वेपन आर्सनल तयार केलें, like Soviet Union. What happened at the end? Disintegration. But you see these countries, some of you may definitely have traveled also there with on vacation with your parents and all. Okay, so these 10 countries, they followed the policy of economic growth as engine of acceleration of the economy. Okay, so you have to, from the examination point of view, question may be asked as to why ASEAN was started or what was the aim and objective of ASEAN. So you can easily write now. See, dear friends, one thing which as a facilitator I can tell you at this juncture is don't cram. Don't buy hard without understanding. Please try to understand. Understand the concept on this Prudent media. You are having an excellent opportunity to grow. So please understand the concept. So right now you have looked at European Union, you have looked at ASEAN. So you have seen the two strands of growth. One in Europe and one in nearer, closer home, Southeast Asia. Okay? So in Southeast Asia, now why I say the size of the country is so small? Okay, because these countries which were there earlier during the colonial times, they did not grow that much. But after 67, they have taken a big leap towards economy. And latest, I want to tell you this, you must be reading about, some of you surely, that ASEAN today is one of the world's largest economic bloc. One of the largest. Because it has this already developed. See, if you go to Singapore, you must have heard about Singapore as a country. They have very strict discipline rules and all, and it's a very small country. Okay, capital is Singapore city, so you will know how big is Singapore. Okay, how big is Indonesia, or how big is Thailand, but they are growing. Okay, and not only that, countries like India, countries like United States, countries like China now have opened up channels of communication with them for economic growth. For economic growth. Okay, so this is about European Union and about ASEAN. Now we will move to the Chinese economy, rise of the Chinese economy. But when we take the stock of Chinese economy, we have to look at China because, dear friends, as per the things which stand today, what is the situation in the world? India, China are the leading lights of the development in the world. If I make this statement, we will appreciate it, surely. But you have to look at the history of China before the growth of the Chinese economy. See, always इतिहास म्हणतात पळय, इतिहास, हिस्ट्री, त्या देशाची, त्या मनशाची महत्वाची असता. आता आम्ही चायनाकडे एक बारीकशे लक्ष मारूया. We will go to China. You know China, very big country, bigger than India, population number 1 in the world, population. But this population, human resource म्हणतात ताका, human resource, this China has taken it to different heights. We can also do it, India. But in history, in 1949, there was the revolution in China. This revolution, now I will take certain names of Chinese people. You will say, sir, what names? This very funny names, sir. Your name is Naguesh Sardessai. Okay, this name, what sir name, Chinese, how to remember? You remember, try to remember. See, there are 5-6 names in Chinese. First name, Mao Zedong. Board are galia? Okay, let us put on board. Mao Zedong. Write it any which way, no problem. It's a proper names, no. Mao Zedong. This Mao Zedong, he is called the father of modern China. Communism he brought in. Earlier, for those our student friends who are familiar with the, our friends who are familiar with history, they will bear me out that earlier there used to be nationalist government in China led by Chiang Kai-shek. Correct? This name. Don't try to take too much tension on this name. Chiang Kai-shek. Then Mao Zedong comes in 1949. And he brings a new revolution, communist revolution. This is based on the Soviet model. This is based on the Soviet model. Because we know that in 1917, there was the Russian Revolution, heralded or brought by Mr. Vladimir Lenin. Okay, you must have heard this name, Lenin. Lenin, yeah. Just keep this name in mind, okay. Now going back to Mao Zedong, earlier the Chinese society was closed society. Everything is closed. Nobody knows what is happening in China. Okay, but then, and the world community, very important to learn this, dear friends, world community was looking at China with awe. What is this China? Such a big size, so many people, population boom China. What is happening? Now see, listen, very important. The breakup म्हणटा the break म्हणटा पळय the break म्हणटा पळय कोंकणीन आमी म्हणटा कितें केन्ना आमकां ब्रेक मेळपा जाय मरे ब्रेक मेळपा जाय मरे हो ब्रेक चायनान केन्ना आयलो or when did China come out of slumber? That we have to look at. That is the economic part. पूण 1949 जेन्ना माओ झेडॉंग चायनान आयलो ताजे नंतर इंडिया चायना एक स्लोगन आशिल्लें हिंदी चीनी बाई बाई तुम्ही ऐकायला आसतले हिंदी चीनी बाई बाई आणि 1959 year exact 1959 10 years from this 1959 चायनाचो तेन्नाचो प्रायम मिनिस्टर that time prime minister of China was a gentleman. How gentle he was we don't know, but gentleman called Chu Enlai. तो इंडियन आयलो. He came to India आणि हिंदी चीनी बाई बाई हिंदी चीनी बाई बाई. He signed the Panchashil with Prime Minister Nehru of India. मागीर India China friend. So आमी India सीधा साधा सदा बॉर्डरी उगड्यो सोडल्यो and 62 China attack India. तुम्ही जाणाय सर you know this. You very intelligent people. 62 China attack केलो इंडियेचेर आणि attack केलो पंडित नेहरू was prime minister. And he was Shantipriya Manus, very peaceful coexistence, Panditji. So that time what happened? China आमची कितलीशी टेरिटरी घेतली आणि अरुणाचल प्रदेश आपलो म्हणटा सिक्कीम आपलो म्हणटा okay so like that attack China 62 and America is not recognizing China now at this stage. What America is recognizing is Taiwan. Yet syllabus na, but I'm just telling you because it's a story we have to take it up. Some things from exam I will tell you what is important and all this thing. But thoi kon leader ashullo, he was sent that Chiang Kai-shek sent to Taiwan, Chinese Taipei म्हणटा ताका तुम्ही जाणा आसतले. And America, the great America, recognizing not this mainland China in the United Nations, it is recognizing whom? Chinese Taipei. During this time, 62. So 62 India China युद्ध झाले and 62 युद्ध जातकच our condition with China worsened situation. But China as an aggressor was always there. See, China annexed Tibet. You know Tibet? You heard of Tibet? Yes, you heard of Tibet. Tibetaची कॅपिटल कितें खबर आहा तुमकां? लासा. फॉरबिडन सिटी म्हणटा ताका लासा. आनी थंयचो आमचो His Holiness the Dalai Lama. The Dalai Lama, His Holiness, he is there in our Dharmashala, Himachal Pradesh. And one day he hoping back to go to Tibet. But China has annexed Tibet and made it its province. Okay, so, what is the issue now? There are certain areas, political, between India and China. For example, Aksai Chin Munasa, Aksai Chin, Ladakh. Okay, that area China is saying it's our own. Because India-China border dispute problem is there. We are having something called LCA, line of actual control, LAC, sorry. With Pakistan we are having LOC as with China, we are having LAC. One is called Red Cliff Line, one is called the McMahon Line. Just not syllabus, don't worry. This is just, you please revise, yeah, with me. Yeah, so, line of actual control jo asa with China, okay, not clear. See, when clarity is on boundary, this can happen. And to this day, and magir कितें जालें, for your information now, Chinaची economy जेन्ना आमी पळयता, when we look at Chinese economy from a very close quarters, why China grew? Why China grew? Question is that from exam. In 1972, to be precise, when America gave this China the status in the United Nations Security Council. Dear friends, you all know very well that China is a part of the Security Council, permanent member, underline, along with USA, Russia, France, and Great Britain. Clear? Okay. So, in 1972, when official recognition is given to communist China by the great USA, there was a premier in China called Zhou Enlai. He brought in change. 4 sectors to change and transform the economy. See the word I am using, transformation. Transformation. Big change, dear friends. Transform karta. So, which are the areas? Agriculture. Samkya महत्वाचे. Agriculture. Science and technology. Science and technology. Agriculture. Military. And one more is there. Financial area. To give the more upthrust. And later on, they privatized. See, full China, as I just told you, the Chinese economy was based on the Soviet model. Soviet model. Lakshan Dora. Keep it in mind. Lakshan Dora. The Chinese economy based on Soviet model. आता China दरवाजे, जनेला, खिडक्यो उडे करता. Okay, and in that direction, 1972 कडल्यान आमी सुरवात केली. Zhou Enlai 4 sectors of economy, agriculture, industry, science and technology, and military. Then came the successor to Mao. His name was Deng Xiaoping. See, Deng Xiaoping. At what Deng Xiaoping, Deng Xiaoping, his successor to Mao. Don't worry about the name. Now Chinese now Deng Xiaoping. So what Deng Xiaoping jo ayelo 1978 he was a smart fellow. Very, because they payata how the growth is taking place. We have also to modernize. We have to open up our economy. So when economy develops zatli, see dear friend, listen. China had full control of the state. सगळे जे कंट्रोल आसा पळय, कंट्रोल सेंट्रलायझेशन म्हणटात ताका, पावर तो स्टेटी कडेन आसता, म्हणजे गव्हर्मेंटा कडेन आसता. अमेरिकेन तशें ना. अमेरिकेन वेगळें आसा. अमेरिका प्रायवेटायज आसा, कॅपिटल आसता. म्हणजे तुमी खबर आसतलें, तुमी आतां सगळे सकाळी वापरता आसतले, टूथपेस्ट वापरता, गाडयो वापरता, कपडे घालता, तांचे सगळ्यांचे मेन हेडक्वॉर्टर्स खंय आसा? MNCचे चायना, सॉरी अमेरिकेक आहा. ताका मल्टीनॅशनल कॉर्पोरेशन म्हणटा आमी. USSR कडेन खंयचें मल्टीनॅशनल कॉर्पोरेशन आशिल्लें? कांय ना. ओके, नाव चायना. डेंग झाओपिंग जेन्ना हातून आयलो चायना 1978 लिडर जालो. ही चेंज, ट्रान्सफॉर्म, ओपन डोर पॉलिसी. एज आय टोल्ड यू, दारां जनेलां उगडीं करा, सगळीं उगडीं करा. ओपन डोर पॉलिसी आनी स्टेटीचो कंट्रोल जो आसता पळय, स्टेट कंट्रोल ओवर एग्रीकल्चर तो सोडा. स्टेट कंट्रोल सोडा, वाजो. हळू डिसेंट्रलायझेशन करा. ओपन, ब्रिंग इन प्रायवेट कॅपिटल, प्रायवेट ओनरशीप ऑफ लँड, अशे नवे नवे कन्सेप्ट हाडले. आनी अशे नवे नवे कन्सेप्ट हाडटकच कितें जाता? तुजी इकॉनॉमी वायब्रंट जाता. तुजी इकॉनॉमी जी आसता पळय अर्थकारण म्हणटात ताका इकॉनॉमी चाणक्य हो इंडियेचो मरे अर्थशास्त्र दिल्लो तो कौटिल्य म्हणटा ताका तुमी इतिहासान शिकता आसतले शिकले आसतले स्कुलान ओके सो ऑल सेड एंड डन व्हेरी व्हेरी इम्पॉर्टंट टू लर्न चायनाची ग्रोथ कशी जाली दे प्रायवेटायज्ड एग्रीकल्चर इंडिया वी हॅवंट डन इट सो फार वी हॅवंट डन इंडस्ट्री प्रायवेटायज केली सो भायल्यो इंडस्ट्री आयल्यो चायना सो चायनाचें अर्थकरण डेवलप जालें कंपिटिशन जालें सी हेल्दी कंपिटिशन आसपा जाय बिटवीन कॉम्पिटिशन ना जाल्यार कांय ना न्हय सपोज नाव वी कम्पीट वीथ वन सेल्फ फर्स्ट that is very important. You don't compete now. Competition, sir is saying, political science, that fellow told, no, competition and all. Now we will compete with each other. You compete with yourself first. Don't compete with somebody else. Now this is international affairs we are doing. So China, as I just told you, he opened up its industry, opened up its agriculture. Okay? So foreign capital came in China. Very important to note. Foreign capital came. Capital means money. भायले पैसे आयले. Economy vibrant झाली, growth झाली economyची. At the same time, what happened was that we will take up last in Indo-China because we will have a nice comparison with India and China. A little later we'll do it. But before that, the growth of the Chinese economy we are doing right now. What happened was when privatization came in, see, आता आम्ही म्हणतात, see, China is attracting so much of foreign direct investment. This term you must have heard in economics. FDI म्हणतात का? Foreign direct investment, FDI, or foreign institutional investor, FII. Okay, हे भितर सरले चायना. You see, आता तुम्ही पळया, शंघाय म्हणून आसा चायनात. Our people say, मुंबई शंघाय कशें करूया? बेश्टे उलयले म्हणून मुंबई शंघाय जातले? काम करपा जाय तशें एंड वन इम्पॉर्टंट थिंग प्रायवेटायजेशन केलें बट यू वील आस्क मी द क्वेश्चन इन युअर रूम यू आर सिटींग दे यू मे आस्क सर तांचे सरकारी जे लोक आशिल्ले तांचे कितें जालें सर ते काबार सगळे तांकां नोकऱ्यो बिकऱ्यो गेल्यो काय ते तांकां नोकऱ्यो उरल्यो कितें जालें कितें येस या व्हेरी गुड क्वेश्चन यू आर आस्किंग वॉट हॅपन सी व्हेरी इम्पॉर्टंट द सरकारी जे लोक आशिल्ले पब्लीक सेक्टर आता इंडियेनूय आसा पळय पब्लीक एंड प्रायवेट सेक्टर पब्लीक सेक्टर म्हणजे कितें सरकार माय बाप म्हयन्याचो पगार दितलो प्रायवेट यू हॅव टू वर्क हार्ड कंपनी प्रायवेट तूं घाम गळोवचो पडटलो कश्ट करचे पडटले इट्स युअर बेबी सरकारी इट्स ऑल अवर एवरीबडी सरकार चायनान कितें केलें प्रायवेटायजेशन केलें प्रायवेटायजेशन केलें थंय कितें जालें थंय कम्युनिस्ट थंय लाल बावटा जिंदाबाद कॅपिटल तांचे हेंच लाल बावटा वॉट इज दॅट फ्लॅग ओन्ली इज रेड ऑफ चायना कम्युनिस्ट न्ही ते दर इज नो ओपोजिशन देर इज नो मल्टी पार्टी गव्हर्मेंट एकूच पार्टी कम्युनिस्ट पार्टी यू आर गेटिंग माय पॉयंट सो वॉट हॅपन वॉज this pertain to the growth of the Chinese economy. It grew Chinese economy and today if you see they have a vision that by around 2040 or so it is predicted that the Chinese economy may eclipse American economy. Means what? The Chinese economy is growing at a very high rate. Okay, it's going at a very high rate because China, there is workaholism. You know workaholism as opposed to alcoholism? Workaholism as a China. Workaholism. Work is worship. वो मंत्र घेऊन ते चलता फुडें. Okay? आणि तांचे पळय, see, listen. You will wonder now, is there democracy in China? Is there rule of the people? Rule for the people? Rule by the people? Which Abraham Lincoln told us. तसो चायनान आसा ना चायना उठ म्हणल्यार उठ बस म्हणल्यार बस म्हणल्यार कम्युनिजम सोशलिस्ट स्टेट इज कंट्रोल पूण हळू ताणें स्लोली स्टेडिली दे हॅव पार्टेड कंपनी वीथ देर its main industry, agriculture. They have parted company, decentralization kela, and Chinese economy has grown. China म्हणजे dragon म्हणतात, dragon. You can see it in the asynchronous work after this class. Chinese dragon. It may devour everybody. Okay? China has made inroads in Africa. China has made inroads in South America. It has invested every country of the world. Even Goa, so many, India also, so many projects are with Chinese cooperation. So economy of China is really, it all started, just to take a stock, it all started in 1978. It all started. You have to remember him, Deng Xiaoping. You have to remember him. He is the person. The main person, Mao Zedong. He was the founder of the Chinese Communist Party, and he brought in the Chinese government, Communist Party, People's Republic of China, 1949 revolution. But you have to remember Deng Xiaoping. And now after him, Hu Jintao, successor to Deng Xiaoping, Hu Jintao. You can see this picture of Hu Jintao in the book. I'll show you the book. I'll show you the picture of Hu Jintao. See, I think if our camera, my friends, see Hu Jintao. These two pictures, see, you can see this. Hu Jintao and Mao. Yeah. Hu Jintao and Mao. See, these are the pictures. You can see how the Chinese economy is growing. And he roda asa ti yakotin Chinese gala, tanto flag gala, and on the other side, dollar, American dollar. See this. Yeah. Okay? Yeah, see this. So this is how the Chinese economy has grown by leaps and bounds. Okay? And Hu Jintao succeeded Mr. Deng Xiaoping as the leader of the Chinese Communist Party, the president. And now we have Xi Jinping, who is right now the president. That is not a part of our syllabus, but you have to know. Because, see, dear friends, you students of political science, all of you, throughout the length and breadth of our territory of Goa, this is a very important subject. It is a science, political science. It's not politics, it's political science. You have to learn this, very, very important. Last in this session, we are looking at Hindi, Chini, Bai, India-China relation. Now, what is India-China relation? You will be interested to know. What is India-China? See, now, I just told you when we were doing Chinese economy, just took that issue up first. India born 1947, 15 August. China born 1949. Both at the same time born. Both are having more or less the same population. China Kuba, India Piksha. India is now 130 crore. China around 170 crore. But India by 2050, it may eclipse China also, people say. But we have to keep ourselves in control. Yeah, so that we have to do. We will do surely. Yeah. But now looking at the economy, looking at the friendship. Jannah 1955, visit 1959 by Chinese Prime Minister Chu Enlai, followed in 1962 by the invasion, China and India attack kelo. Then India's relation with China went down. Issue you know. Line of actual control, LAC. म्हणजे boundary issue. त्या boundary issueचेर fight झाली. Fight म्हणजे they attack us. And this boundary issue took us to a point of no return for a number of years. Then in the early 80s, we had a series of discussions with them. Series of discussions over the military issue, म्हणजे आमचे boundary issues. कितलेशे series of talks झाले. Okay? Then our association was in doldrums little bit. China was also angry with us because we have admitted Dalai Lama. In 1955, we gave His Holiness the Dalai Lama asylum in India, political asylum. You all know this thing. But Dalai Lama intends to go back to his homeland, Tibet, one day. Then the break came, टर्निंग पॉयंट म्हणटात ताका आमी इंग्लिशीन. द टर्निंग पॉयंट केन्ना आयलो? टर्निंग पॉयंट इन इंडिया चायना रिलेशन्स केन्ना आयलो? बिकॉज देर वॉज नो विजीट बाय एन इंडियन प्रायम मिनिस्टर टू चायना, हेड ऑफ स्टेट म्हणटात ताका, ऑर गव्हर्मेंट. वेन मिस्टर राजीव गांधी, our young Prime Minister, late Mr. Rajiv Gandhi, visited China in 1988. 1988, there was the visit. You have to remember the date. And when Mr. Rajiv Gandhi visited China in 1988, a new page was turned in the Indo-China relationship internationally. And then what happened was, when who was there in China in power that time in Beijing, capital of China, who was there in power? Mr. Deng Xiaoping was there. He said, my young friend, he said, I remember that time I was a student like you. Now also I am a student, learning student. I was a student like you in 12th standard. I have gone through this all, okay? You also will go through this surely. And he said, my young brother from India, welcome. We are the two greatest civilizations, India and China. And we are the biggest countries in the Asia continent. And we have to grow simultaneously. Both of us have to grow. And then he welcomed him in the Beijing, in his palace there. And then relations changed. Okay? And Chinese investment started to come. India also invested in China. And so many of our students and all now are studying, learning for medicine and so many other courses in China. But outstanding issues were there between India and China. Like outstanding issues. See, you cannot have all very, very good, jolly relationship throughout. Because when two big powers, two giants there, India and China are giants. तुम्ही मॅपार पळया, चायनाची बाउंड्री केदी व्हडली खंयच्यान खंयशे हें जाता ती युरोपाक तेंकता ती ऑलमोस्ट. Okay, China is such a big country, China. It is, I think, the third or fourth largest in terms of geographical area. India is the seventh largest. So if you include India and China together, if they get together, that possibility you can't expect what will happen in the world. Okay, but China wants to neutralize India, sort of. So China has interest in different regions. Like for example, it is trying to say that Arunachal Pradesh, it's its own part of India, China. It's trying to say sometimes Arunachal Pradesh, it's its own center. And so many other things are happening in the Indo-China relationship, which goes up and down, goes up and down. It is a seesaw relationship, you can say. It is a seesaw relationship, but China is growing economically. India also is growing economically, but the investment of foreign direct investment, of foreign institutional investment, investors which I have put on the board, okay, these are attracted more by China, in spite of being a communist state. You have to remember, dear friends, now as we are coming to the fag end of this lecture, you have to remember one thing, okay, that China's economic growth is to be seen to be believed. What do I mean by this? Seen to be believed means what? China's economic growth. They have worked their way, dear friends. You also, dear friends, you have to work your way through this pandemic. And thanks to this Prudent Media Networking and Principal Forum, that they have given us this forum to come before you this day. So you grab this opportunity with both the hands and let us come out triumphant this academic year 2020, 2021 and next also afterward. So this class today, we took a stock at the first word, alternate centers of power. Alternate. म्हणजे कोंकणीन सांगतलो जाल्यार आनी पर्यायी पर्याय खंयचे खंयचे आतां आमी म्हणटात लास्ट 3 सेशन्स यू हॅव सीन, यू आर रेग्युलर फॉलोईंग नाव. First, second, third. First, Cold War. Second, end of bipolarity. Third, which one? Third, US hegemony, world politics. And चौथो, alternate centers of power. 4 जाले. हे 4य आसा, first formative. आनी 2 येतले. After this, 2 more are there, dear friend. Don't worry, 2 more. Easy, not difficult, easy. You just try to understand concept. Contemporary South Asia येतलो पाचवो and सवो येतलो international organization. These 6 for the first formative. Okay, for only 3, 4 marks there. 1, 2 question. Okay, and 20 marks exam. First formative is planned. Okay, but these topics all are included from the board exam point of view. And a board exam point of view, each one of these is included for around 4 or 5 marks. So this is a big chunk of around 30 marks after these topics. 2 topics will be covered. So 6 topics, chunky, 30 marks, dear friends, 30 marks. Okay, yeah. So now just to take a summing up of today's session, okay, you are, now listen to me very carefully. Alternate centers of power. We started today with the European Union. Okay, this is Europe, and we have seen how Europe, which after the end of the Second World War was having economic problems to start with. Okay, then Marshall Plan. Slowly, steadily, Europe is growing. So many organizations, European organizations came till European Union came, 1992. Economic, they have European Parliament also, where laws are made. Okay, there is a single currency, euro, which you have to understand. Some people call euro dollar also. Euro, better. And there are some countries which are having from this thing, power, like UK is there. Now the latest situation is different, we are not going into that. UK was there, France, Germany, their currency is more powerful. So, but they have compromised for that, they have taken euro. So euro is the currency, and then we took the Marshall Plan, 1992. European Union, they have a counter in the form of NATO. European Union is a supranational body. Supranational body means going beyond the territorial boundary. If you want to travel within Europe, you don't require passport much. You know that very well. Sorry, you don't require a visa also much. So between the countries of European continent. Then we move to closer home, closer Asia, and we look at the ASEAN. When we look at the ASEAN, the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, as opposed to India, which is in South Asia, which is your next topic, after this topic will be South Asia. Okay, in that you will learn about Asia, India, Bangladesh, Pakistan, Nepal, Sri Lanka, so on. Yeah. So in this particular topic, Association Southeast Asian Nation, it was purely economic, underline, economic. Its aims and objectives were all tailored towards making these countries grow economically. So they brought in special economic zones, they brought in free trade areas, and being geographically in size small, they developed because they had an advantage. When you are geographically small in territory, you have an advantage, definitely. See, India development, little bigger, little time it takes, yeah. So, Association of Southeast, initially there were 5. I have told you the names of these 5 countries. For your refreshing, I'll just tell the names of the countries: Thailand, Indonesia, Malaysia, okay, then Singapore, and one more, Philippines. They were the original 5. The 5 more came: Brunei Darussalam, Laos People's Democratic Republic, okay, Vietnam, Myanmar, and Cambodia. These were the 5 we joined later. But as economic growth, they are prospered, and now today they are having cooperation with countries like India, China, and the US also. So they are growing. They are growing. They don't have military bloc. It's only an economic bloc, remember. Okay, then we move to India-China relation. When we see the India-China relation, before that, the rise of the Chinese economy, we saw how the Chinese state came into existence, the communist state of China in 1949, how its economy was developed. Okay, initially how the economy was modeled on the Soviet lines, Soviet model economy in China, and how slowly and steadily from communism they moved towards capitalism. But they kept that communist brand intact. Okay, how did they do that? We saw it. Deng Xiaoping, from Mao, the leadership passed on, the baton was passed on to Deng Xiaoping, and from Deng Xiaoping, the baton was passed on to uh, Mr. Hu Jintao and now Xi Jinping. And they had progress. 78 was the turning point, open door policy. You can read through open door policy, wherein the economic activities are open for the world economics and powers to come in, and lot of foreign money came in China, and privatization of industry, privatization of agriculture, very important. Okay, military growth and science and technology. R&D they centered on, research and development. We are also now doing research and development. So they centered on R&D. And they coming up now as one of the real superpowers in the world. And as I just mentioned earlier, little bit, by 2040, they are set to eclipse America as the economic giant of the world. They will give America a run for money. Okay, they will give America a run for money. In fact, it is now 2020. They are giving run for money for America even now. Okay, and then finally we saw closer home how our country India is approaching China. For that we saw how China was coming and trying to grab our territory. Because both the countries are powerful. Both the countries population wise are powerful, area wise both are powerful, more or less same size of the population and other areas, other things. China also have similar problems like India. But only difference is India is a democracy. China is not a democracy. India is a democracy. People rule of the people, by, for the people. You remember this. So when this India-China relationship has come into existence, okay, initially we have problems. We had a lot of problems initially. And as I just told you, the visit of the Chinese Prime Minister 1959, then Hindi, Chini, Bai, then 1962 attack zalo India. India was, or attack kelo. Friend only attack. Stab in the back, manta. Stab in the back. Fatland malo suro. Udland mala to sama fatland malo China. But then we are looking at China now. Anytime anything can happen. So, but then our Prime Minister, 1988, Rajiv Gandhi, young Prime Minister, went to China. He met the very old leader of China, Deng Xiaoping, almost double his age. And he handshaking kale. And he said, young brother from India, you have come. Great civilization, India. We also great civilization, China. Yeah, then we will grow. And the progress was there. Trade and commerce, very important. Trade and commerce. People to people contact. Ye mahatvache. Political people, let them fight. I'm not saying let them fight. People to people contact is very important. So our people are going there. Our scientists are going, agricultural scientists, students are learning, everything is going and give and take is taking place. So the relationship is, we have some issues with China. Primarily we have the issue of the boundary line of actual control. So all said and done, dear friends, right now we have taken a stock of other alternative centers of power. Okay, first is European Union, second is ASEAN, third is the Chinese economy, which is growing, thriving, okay, and India-China relations, which will surely improve in due course of time. Okay, so for this session, dear friends, we have taken a stock of 5-mark portion, only from the board exam point of view. Important things you will ask, sir, you taught the lesson, sir, but question sangna amka important dina amka, what kide yewu shakta, what question came, okay, what can come? This can come. ASEAN. ASEAN aims and objectives can come. It's a favorite. Any will ask. Aim, objective, ASEAN. For 2 mark, 3 mark, they are asking. Short answer question. Okay, European Union Indo-China relationship Indo-China relationship kasha Indo-China relation. 3-4 points you have to write. And rise of the Chinese economy. Atutli, out of 4, any 2 questions expected. Okay, so after this class, okay, please do the asynchronous activity. Go and look where Europe is situated, okay, on the globe. Okay, where ASEAN is there. ASEAN shape of the country sangla, where they are there. India, China, Aksai, Chin, Khaya, Lakshan Gaya. Okay, Lakshan Gaya, geography niti, it's a part of political history. So, here sagle kartal to me, and wishing you all the best now. This is your facilitator, Naguesh Sardessai, taking leave from this particular class of political science, still 2 more topics are there for the first formative. Contemporary South Asia and international organization, which are coming up in the next classes. Please pay attention and study well. Wishing you all the best. Thank you. Bye-bye. Namaskar.
Prudent Scholars, powered by Lupin Pharmaceuticals.